Hello, guys. We are here for week 2 of the Altered Index 2025. That's hashtag Altered Index 2025, sponsored by Nonstop Papercrafts. Everything will be linked so you can follow along. But this week's prompt is butterflies. I love me some butterflies. So what I've got now, obviously I have my index card book. I've got distress ink in walnut stain. So I'll be doing some stenciling. That is one of my mediums. I will be doing texture paste with this stencil. That's a second medium. Also using some distress spray to add to that texture paste. I should have looked ahead of time to see how long it takes texture paste to dry. I didn't think of that until just now. But obviously I'll have to mute to kind of do that. And it doesn't say anything on the bottle about how long it takes to dry. And then I have some die cut butterflies that also will count as a medium / texture. So I'm going to Google real quick. Okay, so it says, Google says 24 hours to completely dry, depending on the thickness of the application and environmental conditions like humidity. But I think if I hit it with my heat dryer and dry the surface, I can go on to the next step and then just set it aside. I won't put it back in the book until it's fully dry. So that way it doesn't, hopefully, ideally, does not stick to the page behind it. Okay. So for this week, I am going to start with coffee dyed paper as my base. Let me get my paper down here. This is also my catcher, my color catcher. And then I need a glue stick. I'm grabbing a glue page from behind me. So again, I'll cover the back if I need to. It depends on whether the ink bleeds through. Whoop. Let's flip this over. Now I don't have a palette knife yet. I will be going into town and doing some shopping soon at some point. I'm filming this on Tuesday. Tomorrow I am going back to Walla Walla because on Thursday there is no childcare coverage for little man. So I'm doing grandma duties. And I'll be back, depending on what time everybody gets off work on Thursday. I haven't even really asked that. I'll either come back Thursday when everybody gets somebody gets home, to be home before dark, or I'll just come home on Friday. Don't really know yet. Sometimes I get talked into staying an extra day anyway. Usually it's by Mina, but she's at her dad's this week, so I don't have her little cute face trying to talk me into staying. She was really upset when I only stayed Friday night, and I had to leave on Saturday. And she's like, no, I want you to stay. And I said, honey, I can't. I said, Grandpa and I are going to see great grandma tomorrow. And she's like, well, then take me with you. So we can't do that either because you go to your dad's tomorrow. So she was mad at me. She was mad. So I'm going to do some blue on the background here. Some. I need to be darker than that. How about we do some broken china? Now my blue blending brush is little compared to my brown. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to get this done. Now you want to try to start off what you're putting ink on, just to kind of avoid some of the harshness of like the brush hitting the paper for the first time, unless you don't mind having the dark spots. This is just coffee. I covered it with coffee dyed paper first. It's not wanting to ink up very well. Just wanted a little blue in that background. So we're going to set that off to the side. I took out these two butterflies, because I kind of wanted them. I didn't want to use a full bunny. I keep saying bunny. I didn't want to use a full butterfly because I wanted it to look like it was flying off the page. While this one is my favorite, I think it's going to take up too much. Maybe not. Okay, maybe not. I'll use that one. Put that one away. Okay, so let's get my stencil out. I just want to stencil on some smaller butterflies around it. And I'm doing the stenciling first because I do plan for the texture paste to go over some of the butterflies. So the stenciled butterflies, you'll see, sometimes you'll see the full butterfly, sometimes you'll only see parts of it. feel a sneeze coming on. Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute button quite fast enough. Move out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and add that tiny little butterfly right there because I went over into that field anyway, so it was already going to have that little butterfly flying. So I'm a little annoyed right now. I ordered some super worms again, because for my bearded dragons. And I ordered them from a company in California because I figured, 2 states away, I'd have a better chance of them getting here and them being alive, right? Turns out not so much. I don't know what the deal was with the mail service. Needless to say, they spent 3 days. I mean, they went from mid California to Spokane, Washington overnight. And I was like, oh, yay, good. That gives me some hope. They're going to get here. They're going to get here alive because they're not spending too much time in shipment. Well, then they sat in Spokane for 3 days and didn't move. And when they did finally move, they went in the wrong direction. Supposed to come south to me, but instead they went north to another city. And I'm like, so they put them on the wrong truck, I'm assuming. So I'm like, great. Now I'm not hopeful that they're going to arrive. That I'm going to, when I go to the post office to pick them up, that they're going to be alive. Because they've been in transit for so long and there's so many different variables in how they've been, transported. Because they are not supposed to drop below 70 degrees, which is why I specifically request that it be in a box that's marked with live specimens and with the temperature needs for them and that kind of stuff. Well, not only did they take extra days to get here, I'm pretty sure that the temperature was not adhered to at any point in the game. And despite the fact that the seller specifically said, hold for pickup, and I also put in a delivery notification that said, hold for pickup. Did they hold it for pickup? Of course not. Nope. It sat on the UPS truck all day and was finally delivered to my house at 2:30 in the afternoon. So second time, this is the second time that my post office has ignored what I put down as delivery information. So I'm like, obviously you guys didn't learn the first time around when we went through this, which is unfortunate, because when I answered the survey for USPS the last time, I didn't realize that it was going to be a thing sent to my post office, as a complaint. But next thing I knew, I was getting a call from my mail carrier or my postmaster, asking how, if there was anything they could do to fix it, and stating that they were going to talk to the mail carrier. Well, here I am, same problem. So this is my first time ever using texture paste, but I have watched a lot of videos with people that do it, and I do hear them all the time say, wash your stencils right away, because if it dries on your stencil, you won't be able to get it off. It's kind of like a cement. So I was kind of hoping those would be a little closer together, but it'll do. I might pull out another stencil. We'll see. Let me run the dryer. Mute you out. I'll be right back. Okay, when I was touching it, nothing was coming off on my finger. So I think we're at least dry enough for me to try this next. This next step. And now that I'm thinking about it, I should have gone this way to be able to do what I had in mind to work a little better, but we'll see how this goes. Now, I don't want to spray. I just want to dribble it. And kind of get it moving a little bit. I'll probably have to spritz it with water. also don't want to wet it too much because I did do stress ink on the back, initially, as you saw. So I don't want it to affect that too much. Want some to go this way. This is kind of it's not a good version, but it is a version of what Shinuki Arts does on some of her stuff. She uses a much more closed pattern, more like a brick, and then it just runs in between them. This is my first time doing it, so it's going to take me some practice. Let me try this real quick. Okay, so now that it's dry, it did turn out a little more orangey than I was wanting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take vintage. This is Vintage Photo. This, by the way, was tea dye. I'm going to take some Vintage Photo. I'm going to give it some drops. Now, for people that do splattery stuff, you'll know that splatters get everywhere. You can see it all over my paper. What you don't see is how much of it's actually getting up here out of frame. That is pretty typical. So go ahead and just kind of giving it some water to help it move. It's not an oxide, so it doesn't move as well. But it does move with water. This is the hard part when you want it to land in a specific spot. So okay, so again, I'm going to run the dryer over this. So I kind of feel like I want some blue also. So this is Mermaid Lagoon, which I do not have in a stamp pad. It's a nice shade of blue. And again, I'm going to come across the top up here. Before it dries, I'm going to give it a spritz to get it moving a little. Put some in there to get it moving. Put some in there. Get some color moving. So again, by giving it some spritz, it kind of, if it hasn't soaked in already, because again, these are stains, so they do soak in. So again, I'm going to pull up the dryer. Now, unfortunately, what I have managed to do is I've completely obliterated the butterflies that I had stenciled in the background. And I don't know if I can stencil them back in. Move this out of the way. Whoops. What is that? Not sure what that is. It almost looks like paint, but I haven't used white paint. Okay. That's okay. Let's get my, if I can find it, my butterfly stencil. Let's see if I can bring back some of these butterflies. And I wasn't sure whether I should stencil the butterflies first or after, so I gambled. Clearly after was the answer to that. Let's put a little butterfly in here. Let's do 2 butterflies since, again, I did what I did over there, or did before. was I overshot the stencil line, so I ended up having a butterfly there anyway. See, in the stencil paste, even though, I mean the texture paste, even though it's hasn't been sitting for 24 hours, I'm stenciling over it with no problem. It's not transferring to my brush at all. So I feel like I want one right there. That little baby one right in here. Okay, we're going to call that good. And then, so let me put my Distress inks away. And again, that was walnut stain. Drink some water. Now, while I'm thinking, let's go ahead and cover the back. We do these holes just so I can see them when after I cover the back. Okay. Again, we're going to put this down. Let's put it on this side. And then again, this just gives the back, gives a writing surface for the back that's not all, muckied up with inks and so on and so forth. Card. So this is twofold. This helps spread the glue out to your edges. But it also, by applying a little bit of pressure, it forces the fibers of the papers to open up a little bit and accept the glue. So it adheres your pages together better. And again, I'm going to put this back in the basket since it's still usable. Okay, trim those edges off. kind of like I did with my full deck challenge, and I put the sounding block in the basket, so I won't have to keep trying to find it. I'm going to do the same thing with this hole punch. I'm going to stick it in the basket. Now, I feel like I need something grounding it over here. I really need to label these so I don't have to like lift up each box because I can never remember what's in them, what's in which ones. I was feeling kind of an uppy downy word. I think the only long one I really have is becoming. Oh, there's absolute. That green that introduces a new color. So let's see if I can find one. I got it in black. Kind of like that one just because it's got the blue going in through there. These are my stamped vertical words using, I stamped the labels. I have blank labels stamps. I stamp those out, and then with my letter kit, I find words that can fit in there. I'm gonna go with that. I'm not going to worry about inking the sides. I am going to use Fabri-Tac because it's going over the texture paste. So I look around, I'm like, they got blues everywhere. The blue there, there's blue on my mouse. When I was dyeing paper, the ink that I was using to dye the paper, it got everywhere. Okay. Now, does it need anything else? Checking my corners. Looks like I only missed the one. No, I think I like it. So there we go. There is week 2. Do I want around the corners? Yes, I do. I like the look of the rounded corners, but also for things that are going to go inside into pockets, the rounded corners help help it slide in and out of pockets better because you don't have that point. So I'm going to put this in here. This is going to sit open on my desk because the paper still feels a little wet. It's still pretty flexible. And of course, I want to let the textured paste dry for 24 hours. It still seems crooked, but I think I'm too late to fix it now. Nobody's perfect, least of all me. So it is what it is. All right, so that is week 2 of the altered index. See, now that I put it up there, it's definitely crooked. It's leaning that way. Anyway, week 2 of hashtag altered index 2025. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you in the next video. Bye.